Okay, so lesson 14 is a little mini project, so everybody should be a little bit different, but I am going to walk through a very ugly, very rough example and make sure everybody's aware of what the requirements are, how to find the rubric, all of that good stuff. So again, anytime I see these mini projects and or if I click on it and it starts to mention a rubric or activity guide, I can come over here to student resources. There I will find the rubric, the activity guide. I'm actually going to start with the rubric, okay, and I'm going to look at the extensive evidence column. You sequence the program well and properly separated code in and out of. So, all right, just making sure it's ordered well, things work as they're supposed to, modularity. So at least 2 sprites created, each with at least 1 property updating in the loop. So you're going to have 2 different sprites. You technically, as far as my students go, you could technically have the same image and have it occur twice. That's okay. And 1 property each, so that means it's got a left to right movement, an up down movement, a little rotation, something being updated. Also the size of it, the scale of it. We haven't really gotten that far yet, but if you want to try that now, you can. Also, at least 2 shapes, 2 sprites, and 2 lines of text are placed correctly on the screen using the coordinate system. At least 2 elements move in different ways. So the way I read it is that can still be your sprites, just they're moving in different ways. So maybe one's moving up and down, one's moving left to right, one's shaking, one's moving diagonally, just some different movements. And then kind of an optional stretch feature, at least 2 non-sprite variables are created and update their values. That would be like in lesson 13 where we had the bubbles. That is if you just want an extra challenge, you could add that in there. Okay, so so I'm thinking 2 sprites, 2 shapes, 2 lines of text. So 2, 2, 2 there. And I'm going to now go back and jump in. We're going to see an example. All right, so again, this was that cheesy joke we saw day 1. Now it's got some movement. So just kind of looking at everything here, we have a blue background. We've got 1, 2, 3 shapes. Okay, they are static, but that is 3 different shapes drawn, so that would meet the 2 shape minimum requirement. We have 2 different sprites, so even though, well, I guess the color is a little bit different, it's different images. I'm mainly looking at 2 sprites. All right, this one has got a rotation property set, making it move. This one has got an up-down movement, so that's 2 sprites with 2 different movements. We also had 2 lines of text that also had movement. For my class, I don't make it a requirement to add that movement to the text, but if you would like an additional challenge, I will show you how to do that, but you don't have to do that. Okay, so again, mine's going to be quick. It's going to be ugly, but it's going to meet the requirements, and that's what we're focusing on right now. So first thing I want to do is actually the world menu is where it is. I'm going to go ahead and put my draw loop there. It's called draw. I'm going to leave it. And inside my draw loop, I'm going to go ahead and do a background. I'm going with a space scene, and I'm going to borrow a little bit from an example we saw earlier. So here, I've got my black background. I'm then going to do a white fill, and I'm going to have some ellipses. And I think the example we saw before was a 5, 5. And the random number actually works better here. And I'm going to go 0, 400, 0, 400. And then I'm just going to copy that a few times. Okay. And when I run this right now, that gives me my space background. I'm actually going to slow my frame rate down a little bit. So let me make that Control Z that. Let me make that about a 5. Let's see. Okay. And now, So I already met the requirement for having shapes. Obviously, they don't have the variable set and being redrawn. That is not the movement we're looking for. So I'm going to add a planet as well. So I'm going to add a light blue fill, an ellipse, and let's make it 100, 100. It's going to be stationary right now just so I can see. Okay, that'll work. Let me make that a different color. That looks too, well, we can leave it. Okay, and then for the, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Okay. And I am going to create a variable up top that's just going to call it planet. And I'm going to do a let's do a 350. And I must make that the X property. Okay, so it's going to be set right there, and then we're just going to have it go left to right. So I'm going to then update. Planet is going to get planet -2. All right, so that makes that move kind of slowly along with the frame rate. All right, and then now I'm going to go to animation. I'm going to have an astronaut. And then I'm going to have see if there is a spaceship. Those are very pixelized. Let's do that one. Okay, and I'm going to create my sprites at the top. So I'm going to have, I'm just going to call this one Spaceman. And I'm going to set the animation of Spaceman to be, ooh, those names are not great. 34-1 was the astronaut, okay? And then I'm going to have the other one that is going to be spaceship. That will be the other sticker. I do need to call draw sprites. Okay, I'm going to make this one be a 150. I'm going to make this one be a 350. 350. Okay, and they are very large, so I need to scale them. So I'm going to add a sprite.scale. Man, let's do a 30% scale. And we'll do the same for the spaceship. Okay, and let's see how that looks. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I want to, let me flip-flop those XY coordinates actually. So let me make my spaceship be 100, 50, and let this one be 350, 350. What was, okay, last time spaceship 100. Let's do it that way. Sorry about that, trying to think, and okay, there we go. And I want those to kind of come together a little bit in my scene. So I'm going to add some movement now inside the draw loop. So I'm going to update spaceman.x is going to get spaceman.x -1. And I'm going to update the y. So again, I want this to move down, so that means my y is going to increase. So that'll be a spaceman dot y plus. And I'm going to have him move a little bit more down, so that I'll kind of have him moving. All right, now I want my spaceship to move diagonally. So I'll also drag out an XY. And that will be spaceship X. I want it to move from left to right, so that will be an increasing counter pattern. I'm going to have it move a little bit faster. Actually, let's have it move at about 4. And because I want it to move up, it's going to be a minus. Okay. So I've actually got my movement going there. Okay. And the last thing I need to do would be to add the text. I want it to be after the sprite. So I'm then going to do a fill. Actually, I could just leave it since I already have a fill there. It's going to be white. That'll be okay. Let's do a text size. Let's make it about 18. All right, let's have our text. And we can give this like a title. Actually, I could do all sorts of stuff. So I could call this Lost in Space. We're going to start it at 0.50. Maybe we want to start it at 50.50. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Again, we see that Lost in Space text. And if we wanted it to kind of bounce up and down for our X, for our Y, again, to give it some motion, I could just give it a random number, and I could do like 48 to 52. So it's kind of moving a little bit. And then I could have some more text, and this one so I want it to be a little bit to the left of my spaceman. So I'm actually going to set my text for my spaceman. I'll explain what I'm doing in a second. So we're pretending like he's getting left. It's going to be based on the spaceman's X minus 30. Spaceman.y minus 20. And let me see what that looks like. So what that'll do is it'll move with the spaceman. So right now, if you notice, that's a little bit too much. I want the X to be, I like the Y, so I'm going to do a minus 70. Okay, that's still not enough, so I'm going to do minus 120. Okay, that's a little bit too much, so let's see if 100 was perfect. There we go. So, and I could change the text color there just to make it stand out. Maybe you want to make that red. Okay. So we've got our little space person. Obviously, he seems bigger than the ship. So from that standpoint, maybe I want to scale the ship up a little bit to make it bigger. This is just kind of me thinking out loud, so maybe make that a 0.6. There we go. And now we have our scene. Okay, so we've got some text that's moving. We've got different types of movement. We've got up, down. We've got diagonal. That would, if I saw this, it would get all the boxes checked. Okay, so I know I did it all on that level. Code.org lays it out to add on each one, and it does tell you. But this shows enough. So I've got multiple shapes. Got 2 lines of text, 2 different sprites, different movements, so it would check all the boxes. All right. So that is, again, an example. For my students, please try to do something better than what I did. If you need help, let me know.